Long-time viewers of my nonsense will know that I don't really like ecchi anime. Now, don't get me wrong. Me likes a hot anime girl. But I personally feel in today's world where we have access to hentai on a level no other civilization in human history has had, you kind of need a little bit more to keep my attention than just, look at the boobies. And if you have been viewing my channel for a long time, you also probably know that one of the few times one of those animes did get my attention was High School DXD. This was a show that I thought had great characters, fun story, good comedy. It just so happened to also have super hot anime girls. You also know that that show took a very infamous nosedive. So, yeah. Needless to say, it's been a long time since I've truly opened my heart to a pure, straightforward ecchi. But when this past anime season started and I saw what was getting a season 2, I decided to give How Not to Summon a Demon Lord a try. A show that many people, isekai fans, non-isekai fans, ecchi fans, non-ecchi fans alike, have all recommended to me, and because, well, isekai and ecchi are two genres I don't really like, I had never really given the show a try, but I decided to jump into this world. I decided to get hit by Truck-kun and enter the world of slave ecchi thing. The show is kind of weird. But I am here to report to you today that this is a great show. This is a genuinely fun, charming, lovable anime, titties or not, and there are many points where they expect you to care about the characters and not just want to see titties, which is something I genuinely respect. So today, we're going to talk about how this show succeeds, why it succeeds, and why this should be what all ecchis try to do when they try to do things. As far as being an isekai, well, we'll get into that too. But let us begin right where this show starts, because I think this show puts its greatest strength right on with the first, 2-3 minutes. The way the show opens, we see our main character. He's just kind of your typical, generic-looking, no-name anime boy. He's all, depressed and emo, and he just spends all his time in his room gaming. He hates people. Fuck all of them. They're all assholes. I want to be alone. This is the show's greatest strength. You see, a lot of times in ecchi, one of their biggest mistakes is that they make the protagonist just a generic audience surrogate. They're either just kind of like a normal, kind of wimpy type character whose only arc will be that they grow, or they're just kind of like a crazy, funny pervert with a heart of gold. It's always those two types of characters. Even High School DxD, while I like the first 3 seasons a lot, and I like Issei, the protagonist from that show, I do acknowledge Issei is a fairly standard shonen protagonist. He's just more upfront about being a perv than most. This guy is flat out just shown to be just in the worst place you could be mentally. This is the kind of character where if you're not in this state yourself, you're gonna kind of be creeped out by him and not want to be around him, let alone want to imagine yourself as him. So yeah, we've set up our protagonist, we've obviously set up his arc, and we've set up his failings as a person, so what is there left to do? Just immediately isekai him! There's no explanation this time around. There's no Truck-kun, there's no magic book, there's no digital world. He's just teleported and becomes the cool-looking, I think it's the character he plays in the show, we'll get into that, Diablo. The demon lord who has been summoned by Shera and Rem, and there is no explanation how any of this works or why he is just brought into the video game world and shenanigans ensue from there. That's it. There's no complicated, convoluted explanation that's set up in episode 1 that you'll get to by episode 100. It is literally just, he's here, shenanigans time. It gets you right to the point, and that is great, which brings us to the show's next big strength, and that's Shera and Rem. Am I pronouncing her name right? I don't know. I don't care. These two are freaking awesome. Despite the fact that, besides the fact that they both are that perfect combination of cool looking but also sexy and fits all your different fetishes. These are just cool, likable characters. Shara is, as to be expected, your typical sort of like dopey, ditzy, big-tittied blonde, but she's got so much charm and charisma, and she's acted with so much fun energy, you instantly kind of like her, and she does a great job of being the lighthearted one of the group. Then you have Rem, who is sort of this, like, more kind of world-weary, more kind of serious, but still has that kind of inner silliness she wants to get out. They're both just really fun, well-written characters. If you're gonna ask me who is best girl, kind of like Rem a little bit more, but also Shara gets more screen time, which is a little annoying, but that might just be because, again, she is the big-tittied elf. Also, interestingly enough, there's like almost no just straightforward humans in the harem. Everyone is then some sort of like creature, rather it's an elf, a cat girl, demons, all this, and yet they're obviously still going to have the overtly normal human female figure, but just doing little things like everyone is something else. Everyone comes from somewhere. Everyone has an interesting backstory. They all have a role in this world and they fit into the lore. It's such a great way to make characters, and I think it really works, considering obviously most of the characters in here are just simple and to the point. So by giving them a kind of bigger role in the world, it kind of makes them stand out a little bit more. But so from there, they want to do a thing and a thing and a thing. There's a lot of a thing and a thing and a thing in this show, but through wacky shenanigans, Diablo ends up putting them into like a spell that makes them his slaves. And this was the thing I heard that made me think I wouldn't like this, because, oh, it's just going to be like fetish fuel. There's maybe 2-3 scenes in the whole show that fit into like the slave fetish or anything like that. The rest of the show is just kind of them getting along, going on adventures, like learning about each other. That's the other thing. So many scenes in this show are just based around them learning more about each other and like growing as people. The chemistry between these three is great. Like, I always believe they're friends. I always believe they want to be around each other. All of that really works. The other great part about this show is, while Diablo looks like a demon and has all the demon lord powers, he's still just kind of this wimpy, whiny teenager inside. So it's really fun watching the contrast between him having to seem all tough and scary on the outside, and inside he's just freaking out all the time. You think it would get old, but damn is it funny. Just the whole show is this. It's just them on adventures, learning and growing and having fun. And yet, there's a lot of scenes of them naked and all that good stuff. And don't get me wrong, they're pretty girls. Me likes the pretty girls. But all in all, I cared about the characters. That's what mattered. That's why the show is great. Everyone has an arc. Everyone is constantly growing and learning and all these things. And the world is constantly expanding. Though that being said, we must now get into negatives, as is standard for my review. Not a lot, but we do got some things to cover. In terms of, like, isekai standards, you can really tell they want you to like they put the emphasis on the characters, because plot-wise, everything's fairly generic. The fact that I couldn't really remember what happened in the first episode, even though I only watched it like 3 months ago, is a bit of a problem, but it doesn't really matter. But sort of the world is fairly standard. You've got all the different races and kingdoms, and there's boring politics you don't overly care about, and there's a lot of just stuff in here that isn't that interesting. Season 2 the one that just passed, does a much better job with the show's lore. I was much more interested in this kind of evil church and all that, which is funny because I remember watching Ascendance of a Bookworm Season 2 where you had a corrupt church and being bored shitless. This one is much more entertaining because there's blowing stuff up. Also, the show's attempts at action, it's not really an action show, but I don't feel any of the fight scenes are particularly memorable. It's mostly just, oh crap, something's happening. Oh wait, Diablo has like some new crazy power he's gonna bring out, and he just does it, and that's kind of the end. But that's not the strength of the show. Like I keep saying, this is about characters, this is about growing, and most importantly, this is a show about learning to accept people into your life. Like, whatever they bring to the table is worth it and always going to be for the better. And that's something I don't think enough anime, especially ecchi, despite wanting to be about relationships, seems to do. Will this show fall apart eventually like DXD did? I don't know. But if a season 3 ever comes, you bet I'll be there to check it out. But what did you think? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Do you think I'm overpraising? Do you think this is kind of generic? Because there are a fair amount of people who do think this is a whatever show. But tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me for more anime content now that the season is over.